All right, so now I'm going to just talk a little bit about how to enter the abilities and needs into the IEP. And we can see that the IEP in ISM is made up of these 5 tabs, and we've discussed how to create a meeting. And then one of the next steps would be to collect information from teachers and staff in your school about the abilities and needs of the student for whom you're writing the IEP for. Now, you can see here that the data collection tab and the abilities and needs tab, I'm just going to click into this one, look exactly the same. Well, very similar. And they both essentially do the same thing. And so I'm just going to describe a little bit about the 2 different ways that you can go about entering the abilities and needs. So the first way that you can enter the abilities and needs is just directly into the tab labeled abilities and needs. So you can write whatever you want in here. And this is what is going to print on the IEP. Okay, so you press save, and it's saved. So just as an aside, the next year when you come back to update the abilities and needs, I would just check what is written there, and if what still applies, then keep it in here because this is what's going to print on the IEP. But if things are no longer relevant, and and hopefully that's why we have an IEP, some of the needs will, this list will get shorter and shorter as time goes on, is that you can just delete and press save. So if I delete this and press save, then it's no longer going to be on there. So in older versions of the IEP, we can look at it and we can see what was printed on there. So it's okay if you update it year to year. Then you just write what you want on there and press save. So that's one way, and typically we would enter it directly into the abilities and needs tab. If we were having a group meeting where we're all meeting in person and everyone was there, and we were just entering the information directly into the system. Or you have a few people that are entering information directly into the system, however it kind of works at your school. So that's probably the most straightforward and simplest way. But then there's a second way if you want it, if you're a little bit more technologically savvy and you don't necessarily have the time to have these large group meetings. All right. So the second way is to do it through the data collection tab. So I'm just going to click on this data collection tab to show you what I mean. So right here, the data collection is like the rough draft of the abilities and needs. What is in this tab is not actually going to print on the IEP. So the only thing that's going to print on the IEP is what's actually in this abilities and needs tab. So I always think the data collection as the rough draft of the abilities and needs part of the IEP. So why does this exist? Okay, so let's say that you don't have the time or the funds to release teachers to meet together to discuss the abilities and needs, and you need to get this information so that you can start entering stuff into the IEP. So what you can do is you can send a data collection request. And much like the meeting tab, it sends out, you have the opportunity to send out an email to all of the people that are involved with the student to collect information in regards to the abilities and needs. So you set a deadline. We can say that it's going to be the 23rd. And then you just click off all of the people that you would like this data to be collected from. Now, what's also a great feature of this option is that you can send an email, you can see here, to the parents of the student in order to get their input also in terms of the abilities and needs of the student. So what you do is you send an email and you'll see that the request was sent. So I will, once I'm done this part of the video, show you what that email looks like. But I just also wanted to go over one more thing before we move on. Okay, so once the email is sent, which I will post after this in the same video block, you will see that you'll have a whole bunch of information entered in here. So first of all, you might have teachers that write the same thing because, hopefully they're observing the same things in the students that they're struggling with. So for example, we might have teacher X write X, let's say, and then that was from this person. So we're going to press save. And you can see that every time that someone enters, it says what they've entered and who entered it on what day. And let's say another teacher says the exact same thing. Okay. So we're like, oh, okay, there's two X's. So we don't want to be redundant and have the same thing listed twice. So whatever information we like that's in the abilities and needs part, and whoever is editing this or doing the final draft, let's say, is going to choose which things they want to move over to the abilities and needs tab. So these two people have entered the same thing. We're going to choose this person for whatever reason. And so we're going to click this off and we're going to press copy. And we're going to see that what we've copied now appears, well, it appears here, on the abilities and needs tab. So whatever we have here that we want to move over to the abilities and needs tab, which is the one that prints, we just click on this box, press copy, and it moves over here. So we can see that when we move stuff over, that it doesn't necessarily say the teacher's name. And that's because it wasn't just one teacher who's saying this about the students, it's several teachers and everyone's agreeing that these are the students' abilities and needs. So this is how you would enter the abilities and needs. Again, there's two ways to do it. You can just enter it directly into this tab, or you can send out a data collection email and people can enter that on their own, but then someone's going to have to come back and move what's in data collection over to the abilities and needs. Once you've sent an email to anyone who you'd like to collect data from, this will be the email that they will receive. So it says here, the student which we're collecting data for, and that we would like this person to provide information by clicking on this link. So as you can see, you just click on it and it opens up. If you were sent an email that has the link to fill in the data collection and you press on the link, this is where you're going to end up. So this is how it's going to come up. It gives you a little introduction as to what you're supposed to do, so you can just read through that. And then you can directly type in the student's abilities and the student's needs. So abilities are aptitudes or strengths that promote student success and learning. So you could say the student is able to ask for help. So I'm just using the examples they use here. And for needs, you could put in, I'd put in the student will improve his or her reading skills. So then you click submit and you can see that it's been saved.